Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode.
Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast listeners. Today we have a guest that we have been waiting to bring on. That yes, because the timing is, we feel like is just perfect today for you to hear from this guest and what she's bringing into the world. So
very soon she's bringing it. Well, it is brought into the world, but it's being revealed
very soon. So
a lot of foreshadowing here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We're making you.
Let's tell you who's here today. How about that?
Big secret. Big secret. Renee Zukin is an author and coach with more than 20 years of experience in education, entrepreneurship, and writing combined. In addition, she spent decades studying multiple psychological and healing modalities that have sustained her and helped to support her students and clients alike. She's also a talented musician. I added that part because I've heard her sing. In recent years, Renee has created successful writing programs, events for heart-centered entrepreneurs. She's passionate about helping healers, coaches, and creatives develop their copywriting and messaging skills so that they can launch their impactful, transformative work. She believes that this is one powerful way to produce a ripple effect of change in order to create a more consciously compassionate world. She is also the author of a new book.
Here's the drum roll. Here's the drum roll. This is what's coming out.
Every Day I'm Brave, that launches August 8th. So welcome, Renee.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We're thrilled to have this conversation. We've been reading actually your book you gave it to us a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And so we've been in it. And then when we knew we were having this interview, we cracked it open again and read more new parts to it that were like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So we're excited to actually.
And we were honored
to
endorse the book.
Yes.
Which was an honor for us. So thank you for asking that.
Yes. Yeah. It really just touches my heart to read your words and to know how this message is landing for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all about braveness and courage, and we're going to get deeper into that. And we want to know your origin story. So this is where we always start, those first 10 years of a person's life. And we started this question really at the beginning of this podcast. And I think it's one of the most profound questions we ask people is like, okay, what happened in that first decade of your life that has these connections to who you are sitting with us right now in this moment? So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. You didn't know this one was coming, did you?
Well, I may have listened to an episode or 4 of yours. So I did, and then I totally forgot, but that's okay. Because my first 10 years were actually, the first 9. I grew up in Detroit Metro. My folks were born and raised in Detroit, and we have a lot of family in that area. And then I was 9 when we moved here to Iowa City.
Okay.
So those first 10 years, there's definitely, a transformative time just before, with this big move here, moved away from all my family, all my friends. And it was hard and it was exciting. And I have 2 older brothers, and they both had very different reactions to this move. They were teenagers, so one was like, yes, bring it on. I love change. Get me out of here. And the other one was like, I'm not speaking to you for,
I'm mad.
Here I am. So for me, it was interesting, I think, too, and then, of course, my parents and taking in as the youngest and an observer of how everybody is reacting to different challenges and things. And obviously from, the kid perspective, I'm not necessarily aware of how much I'm soaking it in, but I see that now. So having that kind of shift, I think put a little bit of, not a rift, but like the change in the timeline, because I don't remember a lot from being that young.
Yeah.
Before you moved.
Before I moved here. Like my biggest memories and the things that are most clear for me. I mean, I have a handful of things from when I was little. But like, remembering day to day or what I felt like, was really planted in the Iowa City area in my mind. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So that move for you, did you embrace it, or did you look around to see how your brothers were handling it? Like, did that impact how you felt about it?
Yeah. I mean, what I remember most about that move was the sadness. I had my two best friends were sisters, and they lived just like, 5 houses down the street from me, and they were all I knew.
Exactly.
And so I have a distinct memory of us, piling into the 1980s station wagon, right? And I'm sitting in the way back, and I'm
without the seatbelt, because you didn't have to wear seatbelts in the 80s.
Looking backwards.
Yes.
And we hop on, from Detroit 94 to 80. And I just remember like very early in the morning and looking out that back window and just crying and crying. But I also knew that like I was moving forward, and there was something very adventurous about it.
Yeah.
Like, so I was open to it, but also like I would put on the Carole King record and, play So Far Away and just cry.
So music for you early on too was
Yeah.
an emotion. You had emotional connection with music.
Oh, absolutely.
But it sounds like there was also this adventurer in you, that you were open to the adventure. And I feel like reading your book, that came out, that there was this inherent courage and bravery that's always been there, despite all of the barriers and challenges that came for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that as a young person, or have you been told that by adults in your life, that you displayed sort of this adventuresome spirit?
No, it was definitely present and accounted for. And a little, I feel like the little rebellious, adventurous part of me has always been very much alive. And I was also afraid a lot. I mean, I have distinct memories of like, screaming in terror at the fish, or like,
Yeah.
So this, I guess this dichotomy was always very present.
Yeah.
But that adventurous part of me, definitely, as adulthood, as challenges, as, different states of being and, going through all that, when you really have to focus on like, survival, that adventurous piece gets really, really varied.
Yeah. But I like the awareness of the dichotomy, because I also feel like that's, which we're going to get into, part of this wild woman archetype is her capacity to hold sort of the tensions of opposites. And so even as a child, here you've got this adventuresome little aspect, this, and you had a lot of fear. So it was both and. And that seems to be a mark of even themes in your book as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that, because I remember when I think about my brothers, both of them I adore and I love very much, and they're very, very different people. And I always, and even the way that like we, look alike or don't look alike. And I remember as a kid always being like, well, I'm the perfect mix of both my brothers.
So they modeled for you maybe two different ways of being.
You're well, and I think that was my way to like be connected to them both and feel that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I'm the third. So, I got the mix.
Renee, I have to tell you already, I'm sitting here in fascination because I have a daughter with 2 older brothers. And so I'm like, oh, I'm getting an inside view right now of what it's like when Greta's an adult, because she's got these 2 brothers who are very different, and she's trying to connect with both of them. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm seeing it right now. I'm like, oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you get to Iowa City, you get planted here, you start school. as you are developing as your teenage years, were there big moments for you or experiences that you think also shaped you once you landed here?
Um, oh, for sure. One of the things I think about, especially the culture shock of moving from a really big city to smaller town. I mean, it's not as different as it used to be, but there was, there was a bit of like this metropolitan air, and I would be like adventurous with my fashion. It was the 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
I cut my hair.
You talked about Madonna in your books.
Yeah.
I think very often about her fashion.
Yeah. So I definitely emulated her, or like even like David Bowie. Like I wore ties in 4th grade, and the kids in my school were like, "What are you doing?"
I wore ties in 4th grade too. I have pictures, Renee. Yes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can compare.
Mine was pink though, I don't know what color yours was.
Yeah, no, I remember those really thin leather ties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you were more like you were more metro than I was. I had like the little good girl pink tie on.
yeah, no.
Shiny.
But that too, you talk about ways in which you're molded into your teenage years, and I think this is true for a lot of kids as they get to the teen years and everybody else's opinion starts to matter. Like suddenly, I was like, okay, well, how do I move through this world and not get made fun of, or, be loud, be crazy, whatever. But also, like, I want to have friends and I want to be part of the group and I want to belong. And, if I'm wearing 2 different socks and 100 bangle bracelets and everybody else around me is, curling their hair and I'm
wearing pink ties,
and I've got a rat tail, then,
Yeah.
So I feel like even then, that starts the process of this like shutting down of the things that you really enjoy or think are cool, or, and obviously I was influenced in other ways with those choices too. But, so I just, I became like everybody else.
Conformed like we all tend to.
Yeah.
In a way.
So the book, really the theme of the book and why I think it's so helpful for people is your journey with obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety. And what I'm curious about is when that started, or when you started to see the seeds of that, when that began to emerge out of sort of the soil in some ways. Like when did you first begin to see it? And then when was it really identified and you started to be able to have a name for it?
Well, what's interesting is I would never have known until that I actually carried a lot of those seeds and was impacted by OCD long before I knew I had it.
Exactly.
And I wasn't diagnosed until my 30s. And at that point, obsessive compulsive disorder is not really what we see in the media. It's not just, somebody washing their hands compulsively. Yes, that's part of it for some people. I happen to be one. But there's also, it's such an internal experience. And the key piece of it is these intrusive thoughts. And these thoughts just pop up and then you have to do something to feel better about the thought. And I just thought that was me thinking. Like my whole life. I was like, oh, whoa, that was weird. And, obviously, like you can, right? But when it latched on to, I started having the thought that something in my food was going to make me sick. And so until it latched on to something that was really external, because it became harder and harder to eat.
Yeah.
And, different, some triggered by, outside things. It was a time when, there was a lot of, people were finding E. coli in your spinach and that sort of thing. And, now like the internet is a thing. So you're hearing about these things more and more. So, there's part of the environmental triggers, but then it, just kind of took off. And so, and even with that, I was misdiagnosed. At one point, my doctor thought I had anorexia and sent me to a nutritionist.
Yeah.
Because you had lost a lot of weight
I had
because
lost a
you
lot of weight. That
were
was
fearful of eating, which had nothing to do with body image, which is
right.
a marker of anorexia.
Right.
It had to do with fear of getting sick.
Yeah.
And so you weren't eating, lost weight. Your doctor was like,
Yeah.
Stress. I think you said, yeah, he was like,
yeah, you're stressed. Let's kind of figure this out. And this was over a long period of time, it probably over the course of a year, and I had just had my third child. I was certainly wasn't sad about losing, the first 10 pounds. And then, of course, the weight kept coming off and coming off. And, I weighed less than I did as a teenager.
Do you think that the birth of the third child, which is such a, it takes a lot out of us to birth babies, that was also, I mean, even though the seeds of this were there early, you saw the intrusive thoughts were there early. There was something about that third child that then it really became full blown.
I do think postpartum played a role.
Yeah. And all the hormonal shifts.
Oh,
and yeah. So it really got big.
At that time.
At that time. Yeah. And just like, I remember coming home and being like, okay, now I have 3 kids. I have to count heads like everywhere I go. I want to so suddenly I was, constantly like, you're on high alert. I got to make sure I got to know where everybody is, what everybody's doing, and so it just, all of it was like this perfect storm during that time. And then that's how it landed in. So when I was finally, accurately diagnosed and I learned more about OCD outside of, just I like things organized, then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then all these kind of different memories would flood back. And I was like, oh, this is why.
Suddenly your life made sense.
Suddenly my life made sense.
Yeah.
And, for a lot of people, I think going through the process of getting a diagnosis for anything, whether it's, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, there's this, there's this kind of push and pull about, well, this thing is going to define me or this, or I am not this thing. And I definitely, don't ascribe to the fact that my diagnosis is who I am.
Right.
It's just an experience that I'm having. But having that allowed me to get the right kind of support that I needed that I never would have gotten otherwise, because that the therapies for obsessive compulsive disorder, for panic disorder and things like that are very experiential.
Yep.
And, I love talk therapy. Everybody should have a therapist. It's a beautiful thing. And it wouldn't have solved my problem.
Right.
Okay, you make
I solved the problem.
you make a really important point that I actually want to just drive home, because this is really, really good. There's a lot of talk out there, especially on social media, about diagnosis and why, don't pigeonhole people. And of course, I've heard all of this as a psychologist. And what you just said is exactly why diagnosis is really important. Because for someone to actually understand what's going on and know that they're not alone and it impacts 3% of the population and these are the symptoms, it's a relief.
Yeah.
And then when you have a diagnosis, then the treatment that has research behind it as to why this could help. So you're right. You could have been in talk therapy talking about your life and your children and your relationship for years, and it would never have been able to help you with OCD.
Yep.
So once you got that categorization, then it sounds like, boom, everything sort of fell into place. Yeah. And then you were able to start to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that forward. I think that's really important.
And that happened, just to clarify again, after you'd had your third baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd already been through a lot of life.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So then can you share, and I know it's part of your book, but how that kind of impacted then that enlightenment and understanding yourself more? How did that then kind of open up your journey in your relationship, in motherhood? Like, how did that start to evolve you as a person, just having that information?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think having the information allowed me to have a greater grounding in understanding who I was, why I made the choices I did, and what were the choices that I wanted to make differently moving forward. Certainly that impacted, my marriage is
Is
and but I learned from each of those things, and I think that was that's been a really important part of my own, continued learning through understanding, you know, I don't know. One of the things that I think was really important that took me a long time to understand, even when I started in with the new therapist and was doing this work, he kept saying to me, like, thoughts are just thoughts. And I was like, what are you talking about?
It's a classic cognitive
Yeah.
behaviorist.
yes.
Yes.
Am I right? Am I right, Renee?
Yeah. And I was like, how, and we put so much emphasis on, like, thinking, doing, and how these things are connected, or how you think and how you feel, and even feelings, like, well, it's just a feeling, it'll change. And I'm like, oh, but my feelings are so important, right? And I really wanted to latch onto those, and to have like such a greater understanding of, yes, my feelings are important and they're changeable. My
Yeah.
thoughts are important and they're changeable.
Right.
I was like, what? And then,
Yeah.
So
Freedom in that.
it was,
And that
so
thoughts
much.
aren't us. That's the other thing that's always
Yes.
blown my mind, is that we are not our thoughts. Our brain is designed to create thought, just like our heart is designed to beat blood through our bodies.
Mhm.
And so we personalize it so much that I'm
Yes.
having this thought, I am messed up, or what is wrong with me,
Yes.
versus our brain
Right.
just creates thoughts based on our history and based on the culture
Yeah.
we're in and based on the family we were raised in. But we make it so personal.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like for you, there was a lot of freedom when you started to become aware of,
Yeah.
a thought is just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
It maybe doesn't define me
Right.
as a human being.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's all about what you do with it instead. And for me, that was important, as a mother, to be like, okay, well, what's mine? What's my kids? What do I want to protect my kids from? I mean, being in a house with somebody who has OCD is not very fun sometimes.
Mm.
And did your kids have an understanding? I mean, I'm sure that they've gotten older
They
now.
were well trained.
Well trained.
Okay, so
How has this impacted?
tell us, like,
as a
what,
mother?
like you
Right.
jokingly say that, but I think it's really good for our listeners and for people to understand this, is like, what is it like to be in the house with someone who has OCD? Like you said, it's not fun, but
Yeah.
what do you mean by that?
Right.
I know it's a hard question. We're like,
yeah.
you're throwing them at me.
I certainly don't want to talk for my children or about my children. But what I do know is that, I feel like a part of the experience is burdensome on other people, because I'm so hyper aware, especially when it comes to food and in the kitchen, and who's touched this and can I eat it? It can get really disheartening if somebody else, moves a plate of food for a good reason, whatever. And, it touches part of the dish, the food, and all of a sudden in my mind, it's not edible anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know, like, cognitively, that that's not true. I know I could eat around it. But when, the OCD is at its worst, everything is off limits.
Yeah.
And so I would want to, of course, like, sometime, like, it's instantaneous, like
Yeah.
the full body, like, rage and
Yeah.
like, oh no, and the fear, the panic, and now, and so you spend a lot of energy trying to not, put that on anybody else. But so it just became, I have different habits at home than the rest of the family. Sometimes I don't eat with my family. Sometimes, I'll sit and I'll enjoy it, but I can't always, eat what everybody's eating, or, and that's sad. There's a lot of sadness there, but they've just, when I say they're well trained, they just know not to touch my stuff.
Yeah.
They just, and I feel like, the bad roommate or whatever, especially now that they're older. But then there's also, like, there's just this constant question. So, we have a running joke in my house about, and I have this in the book too, but about my water. Like, I'll pour a glass of water, I'll put it on the table. If I walk out of view and I come back, is this my water? Like,
You confirm. You need to confirm.
Is this my water? I need to confirm. I'm constantly confirming that whatever it is I'm about to ingest is safe. And so the kids now will just, they'll mimic me and they'll say, "Is this my water? Is this my water?"
But it sounds like they've also adjusted and are respectful of what you need to actually feel safe and secure in your own home.
Yes.
So,
which
is a beautiful thing, right? Yes, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And has taught them a lot of resilience, I'm sure, as well. Like in terms of understanding how to work through challenges in life.
Yeah. For sure. And we're very open about it, I mean, and every human has a challenge in some way,
Absolutely.
that they're dealing with. And so, my hope, while I, don't wish an experience of OCD on anybody, but my hope is that because of what I've learned from the experience, that I've been able to show my kids this resilience, this bravery, this courage, and they can take it for whatever they need.
Yeah.
And the same thing with, the future readers. Like,
yeah, it's really a book about what's possible when you have fear, but do things anyway.
Yes.
That's what I was struck by about reading this, because, so you have these intrusive thoughts and they did impede your life in various ways. Mm-hmm. And yet, despite that, you kept going. You kept throwing yourself into new situations. You kept, you were dancing on the stage this year. We took an adult tap class together. I was like, yes, I will not be at the recital. Thank you very much. Renee is up there, amazing. Dancing. You keep doing it.
Yeah. Sing with the band.
Pink Pony Club.
Got to watch you sing. I've watched you several times. You've been in a band for how long?
On and off for this one, about almost a decade. Yeah.
So your ability to perform, right? Do you feel fear? I wondered this.
Oh, yeah.
When I went to watch, I'm like, I wonder if it's one of those, I fear this, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's, I think one of the really important things is that you have to find the thing that's worth it. Like, what is it you love to do? And for me, music and dancing and the arts have always been part of my experience, and I loved it, and it's scary. And for a long time, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then, I say on and off for the last 10 years during COVID, nobody was performing and the band would start going out and doing things. And I was like, nope, I'm not, just can't. But I do get nervous. Yes.
Yeah. But you do it anyway.
But I do it anyway. And when I'm in the middle, within the first little bit, once you're through the first song or two, it's no problem anymore.
Today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Yoga Mama, which is all the many offerings I have blending psychological science with the ancient wisdom of yoga and mindfulness. Join me for a yoga class, a meditation weekend, an online course, Wisdom Wednesday, which is the first Wednesday of every month, or maybe even an international retreat like Greece in the fall of 2025. By providing spaces and experiences for people to look inward, it is my great honor to watch people become the change they wish to see in the world.
This podcast is being sponsored by Kate Moreland Coaching. As a transformational coach and an advocate for authenticity and well-being, I work to support individuals and organizations navigating challenging times. Whether you are an individual, a leader, or an organization, your creative power lies in your authenticity. Doing the work to understand your strengths and acknowledge the patterns and rocks that are in your way is the path to well-being. Whether it's your career or your relationship with yourself or others, transformational change begins within. To learn more, reach out to me at katemorelandcoaching.com.
Do you think that OCD, because you are daily, hourly having to train yourself to find the courage to keep going, in some ways then allows you to do these other things like the tap dancing and the performing? It's like you're so conditioned to face your fear. I'm going to do it again. Do you think that's part of it?
I do think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Especially coming back to it as an adult. Mm-hmm. Even just being an adult and joining a dance class is a scary thing.
Yeah. The teacher was a really rough teacher too. No,
so
the teacher was Renee's son.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
Evan,
great.
he was an amazing tap dance teacher. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other part. Like one of the things that in both cognitive behavior therapy and exposure therapy, which I talk a little bit about both in the book, but is this idea that the benefits outweigh the risks. And so you have to decide, like, is this something that, I'm going to be really glad I did on the other side of it? The benefits of getting to be with both my older kids teach at Nolte. So I take their dance classes. So I get to spend time with my kids in this like totally new and different way. It's very cool. So to me, that's the benefit, and to see like different aspects of, even if, I'll go out to dinner with my friends, right? And it might be hard and it might be a challenge, but the benefits of being able to connect with my friends far outweighs the like struggle it is to get there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think is really important to kind of go back to with the music is that, yes, I get anxious, but once you're in it, everything that you're anxious about kind of goes away.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true for
So
almost
true.
anything.
It's the pre-thinking
Yeah.
that is the worst.
All
Once you're
the
in it,
all things that could happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once you actually do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I would love to hear a little, because I think this will also help our listeners to hear about your treatment journey, because you weren't diagnosed until your 30s. You see that the seeds of it were there much earlier than 30. There are a lot of dark nights of the soul there in the midst of coming to terms with it. And then where did the hope come in? Where did you start to see like, oh, there is hope for how I'm living?
That's a really great question. And it wasn't just once. And that's the key thing, I think, really about this journey and about this life is that there are going to be times where everything feels impossible. And if you can hang on to that glimmer of hope in some way, shape, or form, you'll see the hope grow. And to just have this trust that even if it's raining, the clouds are covering everything, we know the sun still exists behind the clouds. We may not be able to see it, right? But we know somewhere deep down that it's there. And I had to bring that along with me on the journey. And when things started, when I started treatment, I was very resistant. It was a lot of back and forth.
Super common.
Yep. So what I've learned to notice about my own resistance and rebellion is that sometimes that's my best asset and sometimes it's my worst enemy.
And that's the tension of opposites.
Yeah. But often, like when we're most resistant, that's when we're actually on the cusp of like busting through to something really important. So it makes sense that. And what do we do with OCD? You expose people to what they're most scared of. So of course you're going to resist it, right?
Yes. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to, just fix it for me. And that's really the thing is like I had to do the work, and I had to be willing to do the work. And so I forgot the original question here, but the willingness to do the work,
like the moments of hope, like when you started to see the moments of hope.
Yeah, exactly. So being willing to even acknowledge that there was something better on the other side of this was what allowed me to take, the first step, the next step. And then the setbacks, because there are setbacks. There just are. And then we try again. And that's still true for me today. Like today, I live a pretty great life. And I'll travel. I didn't fly for almost 20 years. Now I'll get on an airplane and get to go do cool things. And I, have a job that I love and I do work with people that I just adore. And I feel so lucky. And there are some days where, I'm 10 minutes late to a meeting because I was stuck washing my hands or or something else gets in the way, or the world that we live in is really, going through a time. And so everything feels so much heavier. And to just have that grace and self-compassion to know that like, okay, so it didn't go so great today, or it didn't go so great this morning, right? It's changeable even within a moment or an hour.
Yeah.
You know?
And that really comes through in the book because it's about progress, not perfection.
Yes.
Right. And letting go of that perfectionism and just taking those incremental steps for you have led to some really big things.
Yeah.
But you're also honest that it's not, there's days when you slide back into that. And I think that's true for so many of us with anxiety, and I'd love to have your talk about kind of the connection with anxiety and OCD, because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. Like, how are they related to you? Like, how do you see them show up? Or what's the connection for you?
Great question. They are definitely connected. The experience of anxiety and, general anxiety I've had pretty much my whole life. But with OCD, it can just get really magnified because if and here's the key difference, right? Yes, people like things in order. You can be, people like to say, oh, I'm a little OCD too. I like, fine. But if your shirts aren't color coded or your spreadsheet isn't exactly perfect, how much anxiety are you experiencing? And, for people with OCD, that the anxiety, of course, doesn't match the reality of what's happening. And so there's that surge of panic. And then you have to do everything you can, to feel okay again, to, relieve the discomfort. And even if the thing, right, this is where the compulsion comes in, even if the thing doesn't match the thing that's making you uncomfortable, there's something telling you that, well, if I do this enough, that will ease.
Yeah.
The anxiety. And so that's how they kind of play together. Yeah.
Well, and we had a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Jackie on. It's really interesting that we've had a couple of people talking about OCD. I really clearly feel like we're supposed to be sharing this information with our audience because two of you showed up in a very short period of time. So I'd love to hear your take on this, because one of the things Dr. Jackie talked about is that, there's not like a cure for OCD. And I think for many mental health conditions, there's not necessarily a cure per se, but you learn to manage it. You learn to accept it. You learn to see it. You learn to acknowledge it, but not let it always control you.
Right.
But that it's like a lifelong thing. And how has that landed for you? Just kind of that acceptance of like, oh, I get to work with this in my life.
Yeah. This is my gift.
It is a superpower, though, on some level.
Yes. I mean, I think that was one of the hardest things to really come to terms with. And, because I just wanted it to go away.
Yeah. Just fix this.
Just fix it, take it. How can I get rid of it? And all of that is pushing against it.
Makes it worse. Yeah.
And it makes it worse. And then it piles on, the guilt, the shame, the, whatever, all those other feelings that then just, weight the whole experience down. And so I had to learn to bring it with me and to give it a voice. And to, one of the things that I talk about in the book was really kind of visualizing my fear as this tiger, which is why there's a tiger on the cover of the book. And being able to take it along with me, both for the dangerous, right? That I can be with danger and I'm safe. And then also the protection. I mean, tigers are fierce.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they, and so when I need to call on that fierceness, I can, and it's there. And so it's really learning to relate so much differently to the experience of fear, to understand that there are no guarantees with anything, to kind of surrender to that experience. It lightens. when you
Yeah.
when
You
you get
acknowledge it.
yeah.
You're like, I see you. You're allowed to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
kill you.
Right.
Right.
Right. You take your power back in
Yeah.
a way
Yeah.
that feels like gave you the strength and courage to write this book.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know this is a book I need to write?
It had been tapping me on the shoulder for quite some time. You know, I'm a writer by trade. You know, taught English to middle school English, so like it's my forum.
It's your art form.
It's my it's the way that I express myself. I'd been journaling since I was 12, so and you know, keeping blogs and things, but really, it was about 3 years ago where it just like that nudge just got louder and louder. And like anytime I was like, okay, what's next? Like it was write the book. And, you know, and that in and of itself, of course, was an experience. And there's a lot of, you know, fear and self-doubt that comes up. And like, here I am. And how can I tell this story in a way that's really in service? And for me, that's what kept me going. Because if I can help just one other person have a sense of hope and not feel so alone, then I've done my job. Like I feel like all that work, and you know, and I don't even want to call it work. I mean, it was
life.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I appreciated about your book so much is that, you know, as a mental health professional, understanding the diagnostic category of OCD and the treatment and all of that, but you did it such a beautiful job in this book of vulnerably telling your story, and so to be able to get an inside look at someone in the trenches moving through this was really educational to me as well. You know, to read your story and to read how you related to the OCD. So I think this book is not only for mental health professionals to learn more, but clearly for, you know, the layperson as well, and anyone who's got anyone in their life with OCD or even anxiety.
Yeah. And it's really, to me, what jumps out, and it's right on the cover of the book, it's freedom from fear.
Yeah.
Which, you know, fear we all have on some level. I mean, I think, you know, the anxiety and OCD is like a manifestation often of fear, and that you in this beautiful way articulate how when fear shows up for you now, like you've learned, you've gone through this whole healing journey, and I know it's an ongoing journey, but you have these strategies now. And I'm struck by, and I don't want to spoil it for readers, but like the airplane story in the beginning, the airplane at the end, and the freedom that you have now of living a big life.
Yeah.
Like that's what really came through to me. It's like, and then, you know, I watched you perform about a month ago. I was showing Betsy the video before you came, and I'm like, look at her. Like, and so it's so inspirational for people too, that those things don't have to keep you from living a big life. You just need to help one another find the strategies to be able to live into that.
Yeah.
And I think the wild woman archetype fits into that too. The midlife decision, like, I'm going to fly on an airplane again. Right? Like I'm going to face these fears. And so when it's, as you do that, you're opening the door for other people too. So
I agree. I agree. Yeah. What's it like to live a bigger life?
It's amazing. I am, you know, often in deep gratitude for the things that I get to experience now, and some grief too for
all the
everything
years
that I've missed.
Yeah.
And you know, and then there's this sense of like, you know, we talk about seizing the moment and that sort of thing, but it's not always possible. And being able to live a bigger life now, I'm aware that it's precious and special.
Yeah.
Because it might not always be this way.
Well, I feel like you bring such an important point that ties into what we talk about on this podcast, is that often the wild woman archetype doesn't show her face until later in life, you know? And so in our 20s and 30s, maybe we are living a little bit small or more contracted or more constrained or in those boxes or in fear. And then there does come a point, there's like a tipping point of like, oh, my life might be half over, or life is short, or someone dies, or someone gets a divorce, or all those things that happen in life. And then I feel like that's when she arrives. Like, oh, honey, you have so much more in you, and it's time to live big. It's time to get out on the stage. It's time to tap dance. It's time to write the book. And so then it's like there's a nudge. And so I understand that feeling of grief because I've experienced it myself of like, oh, how much have I missed out on? And I don't think I would have been ready to bust out of the box at 35 or right. Like I needed more life experience and
Well, and I know for all three of us, we were mothering.
Yes.
Oh, yes. How did
that little job?
children, each of us. Each of us.
Yeah.
So there's this, you know, which is fantastic. And I love it, and all consuming. And so now that, you know, the fledglings are flying.
Yes. There's space.
There's space. And we get to hear our own voices again, which maybe we didn't as much before. And we have the time to consider what life would be like if I did something
different. Such a good point.
It is. Yeah.
Such a good point.
Well, tell us, you know, with the birth of this book, you know, how are you working with people? I love your story. And I knew you back when you were teaching. And I think about you being that teenager, right? With 2 different socks and all the
bangles, the Madonna look.
And you were teaching those kids. Yes. And I know what an impact you made on students as a teacher. So there is such a through line for you, I think, of writing, English, teaching, educating. How is that transformed now with this book and how you're helping out in the world beyond just the book? Like day to day, how are you helping people?
How am I helping people? So it is a lot of my work consists of supporting mostly women entrepreneurs. They're speakers, they're creatives, they're coaches. And, you know, some of them I've helped birth their own books as a writing coach. Some of them I, you know, taken through marketing strategies, digital, you know, the digital online marketing world. But also this bravery that it takes to forge a different path for your work life, for your, you know, for being visible, for being out there doing things like, you know, that can be scary because the message is so important. And for me as a teacher, you know, looking at my students, I mean, I have such just a deep, deep love and appreciation for the kids who I got to teach and for now the adults that I get to teach. Because there's just this this uniqueness in every individual. And I've always felt so strongly that whatever that is, that thing you love, that unique message, that the way that you express yourself has a place in this world. And I'm just compelled to help other people understand that their voice has a place. And so, you know, my work continues to evolve, but I think that has really been the through line for me.
Yeah.
So the book launch party is coming up.
Yes.
Tell us about that. And then also tell people if they want to work with you, where they can find you. And then we have a final question that we always ask.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the book's official release date is August 8th. There
8/8.
8/8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Powerful number.
Is super excited for those folks who are nearby here. There's an in-person party that you can attend. And for those folks who maybe aren't so close and want to attend there's a virtual option. If you go to everydayimbrave.com, you'll find all the details about the book itself, about how to get to the launch party, and really celebrate the birth of this message out in the world. And then, of course, it'll be in bookstores, and Prairie Lights is carrying it.
Yay!
And and in all the places.
And the book party's at the James
It is,
on August 8th.
Yes.
What time?
Friday. Doors open at 6.
Great.
Well, you are, when you just described the work you're doing in the world, I mean, you conquering your fear every day. It's an everyday job. You've taught
every
us.
day.
It's an everyday job, but you are also helping others conquer their fear.
Yes.
I feel like in your work. So it's such a beautiful, full circle of bringing this into the world, because you really are helping others master fear. And you're an example of that for everyone. So, well, we always like to end, Renee, with this question that you probably know, but I want you to feel into your answer. So the wild woman says that in order to step into this wild woman archetype, there are 4 doorways throughout your life. If you have an old story, that is a door. If you have a deep scar, that is a door. If you love the sky and the water so much you can almost not bear it, that is a door. And if you yearn for a deeper life, a full life, a sane life, that is a door. So is there one of those doors, or more than one, that really
you can make one up? I mean, really.
The above.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because as you started asking the question, I remembered it, hearing it, from the other podcasts. And I remember having a thought of what it was for me. And now I don't know. But what I do know is, as you were speaking, what I felt most was the water, the sky. And there's, the as above, so below. And I think that's the duality. That's the dichotomy.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are back. Here we are back around. See, I told you those first 10 years.
Oh, this is really good. Love it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, this brave book you're putting out into the world, and just your light is so bright. Whether you're performing, whether you're tapping or singing or writing, you're delivering so much beauty into the world. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think the piece that I love is that the platform we've been trying to do here is to show stories of women stepping out and being courageous, because we see that when, as women, we see other women doing it, it does give us that little permission and bump to do it ourselves. And I feel like you've given a beautiful example of what that looks like, so we can all be inspired to move into the world in our own unique ways. So, so thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
A great conversation.
Oh, honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.